one of the challenging things when we scale and talk about growth is I don't know if you guys are privy to this, but there's a book that I love it's satire, but it's called The Peter Principle. And one of the key things is having those core skills with individuals to be able to identify strengths and weaknesses for new opportunities at the next level of that business. And those core skills are things like priority management, performance, culture, conflict resolution. And so when the franchisor leans in and they provide that to us, it allows us to keep our compass and make sure that we move forward with the right things in place and the right people in place with the right skills in place. Because those skills are needed at every stage of the business, whether people can execute and whether they're trained up and skilled up to perform those skills at the next level is something that, is wildly important to be able to leverage from a franchisee to a franchisor standpoint.
Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop.
Two-year-old twins. So,
whoa, 2-year-old twins, and let's get this party started with that one.
Yeah.
You know what? We talk about being old, Alan, but thank God I don't have to do that. That's a young man's game right there, having to raise kids, especially 2-year-old twins. And we're back, everybody. Welcome back to the Small Business Safari. Getting a lot of great feedback from everybody. Our podcasts are actually jumping up. We're in the top 10%. We're on those 55,000 continents, 700,000
You're kind of a big deal, is what you're saying.
Kind of a big deal. It's getting out there, but we love it. And here's what I'm hearing. All podcasts are the same, man. Everybody says the same stuff over and over. It's boring shit. And You know what? No, we're not. We're not. We're exciting. It's called edutainment, baby. So go out there. If you haven't checked out YouTube's, we're doing some shorts now. In fact, right now, my biggest, hottest take is me going after the Vegas franchise because I said that they were all the NFL games were fixed. The ones I bet on when I went out there I had a guy email me and say, Chris, that's not new. That's not really a hot take. But yet it's got like 40,000 views. People so I think the Vegas may be coming after me. But anyway, we are here. We're going. Go out there. Tell your friends about it.
Scoot away from you a little bit.
You might.
I thought I saw a drone over your house.
Yeah. In fact, that's why I have to lock the doors and live in a gated community. You never know who's coming. But who is going to join us today? I'm excited to have this guest on because I've heard a lot about him, more than he probably knows. He sent me his bio, and
You're a bit of a stalker.
I was, but you can't stalk him online. You don't see much about him. But I have a good friend who's been on the podcast, Wayne Sherger, said you've got to get Kenny Cleary on because Kenny's story is an amazing one between what he's done and how he's scaled his business. So with that, we say cheers and welcome to the Small Business Safari, Kenny Cleary.
Cheers, Kenny.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, man. So why don't you just give us all a little, like a brief bio on how the hell you got here? Where were you born? What'd you do? How'd you get to this point?
Well, I grew up playing sports. I grew up being very athletic and competitive. I had 3 brothers, and we kind of got indoctrinated to the coaching methodology that happened to align with a company called First Service Brands. And a lot of what I did growing up was to compete. After I went through my athletic career in college, I got into the IT world, doing some software sales and enterprise software development, and happened to get real lucky, had an opportunity to come down and join the small business world, get out of corporate America. And the California Closets Tampa franchise was up for opportunity in 2011. So I don't know if many people remember back then, but Tent City in the crash was literally in St. Petersburg, Florida. My father at the time was going around and doing director of franchise operations. And my company was getting sold to a little known company called Oracle. So timing was right. And
never heard of them.
Oracle. Ellison asked to come on, and I said no.
He's not fun.
You got to be a little more fun, Larry. He's all buttoned up and afraid to let it loose. So I said, hey, Larry, I just don't know if this is the right audience for you. So, but Kenny Cleary, yes, you get to come on. This is awesome.
So California Closets, right? In 2011.
That's 11. So that's 3 years after. Well, really, 9 and 10 were not fun in home services. So jumping in 11. Obviously, that
11
franchise
still sucked.
It still wasn't. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is going to rock it. This had to be hard. And so you weren't from Tampa, never lived there, and you said, I'm going to go down to a market I don't know anything about. I'm going to go into Tent City, and I'm going to grab a franchise that is flailing.
I loved fishing.
Okay, all right. Hey,
I love a man with priorities. Yeah, nice.
And it was an affordable place to live on the water. So, I had always talked with my old man, and one of the options was the Outer Banks or the Gulf Coast. And he came out and said, "Hey, I got an opportunity on the Gulf Coast." So,
now, were you married? Had kids at that point?
At that point, I was not married. I was actually engaged to my first wife, and we moved down to Tampa on 2 weeks' notice. I actually had 24 hours to finally make a decision. I had 2 weeks to think about it, and then they put something in front of me, and I had 24 hours. It was kind of a contested situation in the local area, and a month later, we were down in Tampa, Florida.
All right, so kids came later.
Oh yeah, kids came much later.
Attaboy. All right, well, good for you, and I'm so glad it's you and not me.
So what was it that made? I mean, was it the fishing? I mean, what made you make that decision?
I wanted equity. I wanted ownership, and the barrier to entry down in the Tampa market. I was fairly analytical in my previous job. Had some access to some really great demographics, and so the Tampa market for me. I was only 28 years old when I first came down to run the franchise. So that was a real good opportunity, and I really like the Tampa area for upside on that.
Let's dive in that a little bit, because you make it sound like you made a 24-hour decision, but obviously you mentioned, and that's what I was going to get to, is that you went at this pretty analytically. You had an in because Dad was working in the California Closets, but now it's your butt on the line, it's your skin.
Mm-hmm.
Go about, how did you go about analyzing and knowing what you were going to get into?
So I actually got reinvigorated into the California Closets stream because of my strength, which was online e-commerce search. And the area that I was actually aligning with at the tail end of that career was enterprise database search. It was kind of nerdy stuff, but it was part component search. And one of the areas that was really challenging in the Tampa TV market, with the Tampa market in general, was the TV market was huge. So the cost to get into that market and advertise as a national brand on that level was fairly complicated given the time. And so I knew right away that I could make a difference on the search engine marketing in this area. And one of the areas that we negotiated with the purchase of the business was relief on the search engine marketing costs to drive leads and target quality customers. So I was confident based on that, and also based on some of the information that I had organically known from my father, and just having a pulse on the business. So I had a quick win. I could go and attack, and I kind of knew what the playbook was. Now going in there at the age that I was, and flying kind of by the seat of my pants, I kind of needed to have that quick win. But that was kind of my big decision making right there.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think for a lot of people to get is that when you go evaluate an existing and go in and start your jump, is what can you do to maximize that brand or that value of that company you're doing. And everybody thinks now, like, well, of course, SEM, you got to have that. SEO, you got to have that. Well, of course you do now, but man, back in 2011, that was still kind of coming online, and you were obviously you were on the forefront of that. Mm-hmm. Getting involved. So that's a great win. That's one to actually pick up on a good nugget, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So you bought an existing business that was failing. How long had it been in business?
It was an original business. It had been in business since 1988.
Wow.
And it was a California Closets franchise.
Correct.
So with that name, and it's funny is that if you're in home services and you're thinking about or working with anybody and people are thinking about getting a closets, how many times have I heard, I've got a handyman business here in Atlanta. I'm not looking for like a California closet solution. Okay. So you guys are known as the Cadillac.
I have a California closet.
Well, of course you do there, big bucks. Daddy Warbucks, of course you have a California closet.
It's very
system.
affordable. It made a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, of course for you. I mean, it's just pocket change. but that's always been known. It's a premier brand, right? And it's always been like that. So these guys started to not do too well, but you felt like you could build on their brand, but also use search engine optimization, get those quick wins and those leads back.
Well, I also think this is an interesting story. We don't have too many people that went and bought an existing business. And then you moved from out of state. So you probably really, I mean, you saw on paper what you were buying, but did you have a feel for what you were buying? And then when you went down there, was it completely different than what you were expecting?
I had no clue what I was getting myself into. I had no idea what I was doing.
But at 28 with no kids, you're invincible, bro. You're invincible. Yeah,
I thought so. Now, if you asked me if I could do it all over again, I don't know if I could.
Yeah. How many days before you went, what have I done?
Day one when I showed up and everybody was fired and they said, all right, we're going to.
Everybody was fired?
And I'm like, what do you mean?
Oh my God. That's awesome.
Walk us through that. That is amazing.
So, day one, we walk in there and there was 12 people in the company at the time. It was actually a pretty difficult situation because it was the franchise had passed hands within a family, and then within those hands, they kind of had some weight that wasn't really making sense. And they had some priorities that the franchisor was not going to allow to move forward with from personnel standpoint. And it was rightly so. So it's basically day one, hey, we're here. And we want to have conversations about where you're going to fit within the company. And I sat shotgun to every single one. And, some people we had back the next day and some people, kind of knew what was coming and they had to take off. And this is like real small business type stuff, right? Like we're talking like there's 3 guys in a warehouse, 3 guys in vans. There's like 3 salespeople, an office manager, right? And so, we had to just make sure that people were on board with what we were going to do moving forward. And so, it was kind of an eye-opening experience for me right away.
So the nucleus that you broke down to, so you came in, how many did you have on day 3? How many employees?
We had 6.
So 6 employees. We had to get rid of Mama June, Cousin Eddie, Aunt Rosie, Uncle Bobby, Uncle
Scorched
Billy.
earth, though.
Hey,
I mean,
baby.
50%.
That's another gold nugget. As a guy who had to do this in corporate America, the only way to do it is go scorched earth and be done with it. And you do it as humanely and as ethically and with integrity and morals as you can. But you've got to, because if you don't, it becomes bad blood. He said, she said, they said, it becomes a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and hopefully they're all better off for it now. But you did the right thing.
I think about the fact you probably had quite a bit in the pipeline, existing customers that you needed to service, and suddenly on day 2, you've got half the staff to deal with projects you're not even familiar with. I mean, how did you get your hands around that?
Look, I mean, I got really lucky, right? Because I grew up with this, so I know how to sell. I knew how to install. Right. So there were times where I was, I went from the last year I was with my previous company, I was flying to Vegas every other week,
like Chris.
I wasn't poo-pooing them. They've got a good business going on there. Who am I to get in the way of that?
Whoa. All right. So Kenny Cleary's not going on record as saying Vegas is fixing NFL games. Fine. I'm still staying there. I may go down, but I'm going to go down like every Italian goes down. Oh, well. All right. Keep going.
I knew how to do all the roles, right? But also I had a great support staff, right? So I really leaned on the franchisor's playbook, right? So I had the ability from an analytical approach to look at what was happening locally, but I also had the strength of a playbook behind me so that whenever I needed to actually leverage a resource, I could call up and say, hey, I got this planned. So I have some, trusted advisors. And in fact, one of the guys that was one of my managers in training at that time, when I was scaling up the business from 2011 to 2013, and then beyond, they're still my colleagues to this day. And there's still people who I call on for, we'll do a conflict resolution session or core skills. So I had a great support network from the franchisor, as well as having organic knowledge, being able to, get my hands dirty on that type of stuff.
One of the things that's I wouldn't say pretty well known in the franchise world, because Alan, I know you were in it, but learning from Wayne Sherger, and then also doing my own research, because I know our local Atlanta franchise owner of California Closets, and now whatever, I don't know how their structure is. We'll get to that in a minute, but their training and their systems are just as good as that closet system. It's just a really buttoned up system that if you lean back on and use it, we talk about how many times have we talked about franchisors not doing a thing for the Z's, and these guys, when I saw some of the stuff locally, and I've also seen and talked to Wayne about what you guys have done, it seems like it's really solid.
The core skills, right? One of the challenging things when we scale and talk about growth is I don't know if you guys are privy to this, but there's a book that I love it's satire, but it's called The Peter Principle. And one of the key things is having those core skills with individuals to be able to identify strengths and weaknesses for new opportunities at the next level of that business. And those core skills are things like priority management, performance, culture, conflict resolution. And so when the franchisor leans in and they provide that to us, it allows us to keep our compass and make sure that we move forward with the right things in place and the right people in place with the right skills in place, because those skills are needed at every stage of the business. Whether people can execute and whether they're trained up and skilled up to perform those skills at the next level is something that is wildly important to be able to leverage from a franchisee to a franchisor standpoint.
So how many times do you have to go out in the truck and install closets when you first got there?
Every other day.
You're like, what have I just done, man? I'm out here installing this flipping thing.
I remember the last corner shelf I delivered. I literally remember the last corner shelf I delivered.
Right. So a lot of people don't know where you're at today, and myself included. So you started with 6 people, franchise not where it needed to be, but you had great brand, good resources behind you. That's 2011. Here we are, 2023. Tell everybody, where are you today? What are your numbers?
So in 2011, we finished with 12 personnel for the full year, and we did 1.7 million annually. In 2012, we finished at 1.7 annually. This year, we are on target to do 18 million, and we're going to have over 80 employees. We're going to eclipse 25 salespeople, 20 installation technicians, and we're going to have 3 full manufacturing lines and 3 full showrooms.
What kind of fishing boat do you have now? Look at that look on his face.
That's the most important question that's been asked today.
I want to hear
I'll never forget sitting in my cubicle looking over my buddy, and he says, my friend just bought a 40 Cabo Express. I says, what the heck do they do? And he says, they own a plumbing company. 2 years ago, I bought a 40 Cabo Express.
Nice. Let's go. 40 Cabo Express. Flex for me, baby. Let's go. I love that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So how far offshore do you go when you go fishing with that?
I think you're really hitting it now.
I know. Come on.
The last trip before I had kids, the last big trip was 2 years ago, and we went from Tampa and took the boat straight across to New Orleans and went up and did the whole 500 miles across the Gulf. Taking it up the Mississippi. We've taken it over down to the Bahamas, Great Harbor, Chub Cay. We go all over on that thing.
That's what it's all about, huh?
How about that? You know what I like? You said, how far are you taking offshore? I'm like, Alan, he has twin 2-year-olds. It's 5 miles is 5 too far. He gets on the thing once a month now. I don't know. Hopefully you're going to get him to love it. I know you are, but that's a blast.
I recently had to get a smaller boat. I still have the Cabo, but I have a little 25 center console for the kids that we're getting them indoctrinated.
I love the fact that 25-foot boat's a little.
That's a little boat, everybody.
Little center console, a little Boston whaler.
Well, let's go back again. Right, that's why I wrote it down. 6 to 80, 1.7 to 18. Wrap your head around those numbers. I keep telling everybody I'm a big deal, kind of doing all right. I'm not even close to that. Here I'm trying to get to 8 this year, and I'm like, holy crap. So as you scaled, I really want to get into that. You said 2 years at 1.7, and then you started to go up. What were some of those critical decisions you had to make to get in 12 to start going up that ramp?
I had to strategically invest capital that would empower long-term results. So I had to see what was going to be in 2-3 years, and I had to get ahead of that. So like warehouse space, right? Like I can't execute the need in the heat. So what do I mean by that? I mean, when we're going up, right? When the market is going or when things are rolling, I can't be executing needs to empower people. I have to already have those things in place. So some of the things that I started doing was proactively investing in machinery, investing in real estate, small, then get bigger, making sure that my balance sheet was tighter than my actual income, if that makes sense.
Yep. Solid. And then your role in 12, you're president and hopefully not installing anymore, but you said you still remember that. Your role in 12, kind of take us through what that role looked like in 12 versus where it is today.
So in 2012, I was install manager, sales manager, accountant. I do have an accountant that would help me with my AFP and that type of stuff, but day to day, I was basically jack of all trades, master of none. Now, this year, I've transitioned over to a president role. I hired a general manager, full-time general manager, hired a full-time accountant. So my role now is more on the strategic leadership, still do goal setting reviews with people, still do hands-on stuff. I like the top down, bottom up approach. Lots of coaching, lots of financial planning, lots of training, and kind of delivering a lot of those core values. So,
I want to back up just a second, because when you started talking about making proactive investments, that tells me, Kenny, that you just have enormous balls. I mean, when we think about all the people that are listening to the podcast on all 17 continents, there are people who are thinking about getting out of corporate America and jumping into business, people who have been in business for a few years. And when you think about scaling, it's kind of like, okay, I would like to scale, but I need this business to come in so that I can scale. I mean, it sounds to me like just push your chips into the middle of the table, and I'm like, I'm in, because you're talking about real estate purchases or at least leases or something like that for warehouse space, and I mean, that just takes huge balls. How did you have the confidence to do that, or the confidence in your decision making to think that aggressively?
there's a saying I call trust but validate. So what I do is I seek to understand and get to the bottom of exactly what the opportunity is. So if I want to know about investing in warehouse space, I'll literally go find somebody in my network who has done it before. I'll take a contextual approach and just ask 1,000 questions. And then if I don't feel like I got all the information, then I'll go ask another 1,000 questions. I take my sales skills of like cold calling, of just being proactive, and I tap everybody that I know. I go right to the source, right? Like I'll read up on tax information right from the IRS website. I'll go in and talk to local bankers and say, hey, what do you see is happening? I'll survey, I have people that, I lean on to make those decisions. And it's a big, strength, weaknesses, opportunity, threats. I'm a big SWOT analysis guy. What do you know? What do you need to know? What's out there, right? And then I contextualize stuff. I'm in a franchise. I have a franchise agreement. So if I sign a lease and the lease is for 5 years, I need that space no matter what. I need that space to operate, right? If I need that space to operate and I own the franchise, then I need to bet on myself, because I want to make sure that if I need it, I have it, and I'm the one who's going to be in control of it. Can't get around it.
So you're taking what would look like a leap of faith on the surface, and you're making it a very strategic, well thought out decision.
Exactly. Start at the end and go to the beginning.
Yeah.
Kind of like how you're supposed to play golf.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Sorry
Speaking of
to
that,
bring up a
Yeah.
bad subject.
I'm coming around though, big boy.
Are you?
Yeah. I don't know. I think, well, as soon as the rain stops here in Atlanta, which might be 2026. My God, it's been raining up here. You guys in Florida
Atmospheric
been
river.
getting it. Yeah, we're getting smoked up here. Anyway, we didn't want to hear about that. We want to get back to Kenny. Kenny, so great investments. Alan's right. Kudos to you on the balls to do it, because it takes balls to do it. And I like how you go around asking people smarter than you those questions until it makes sense to you, because that's the other thing I've talked about with SEO and SEM. That's the thing I learned from the bank. If in the beginning, I used to take people's bullshit and say, "Oh yeah, well, he's way smarter than me," but I don't understand what he just said. And I had a guy say, "You're a smart dude, and if it doesn't make sense to you, odds are they're not telling you what's really going on." I'm like, "Oh, that's a good point." So back to his trust but validate point. That's exactly right.
You just hit the nail on the head. When I started asking everybody, what's that acronym mean? Right? What's that like? You meet with bankers, you meet with lawyers, and I would just ask the question. Hey, I don't understand that. Can you explain that to me?
I love asking the dumb questions, and everybody else in the room don't know it either.
Here's a great trick. You want to know what a great trick is?
Yeah, let it down.
You politely ask a question and then give a drastically wrong response. and then they're way more engaged to correct you than they are just to explain something to you.
You wouldn't happen to have an example of that, Kenny, would you?
Absolutely. So like, you're a product engineer. So like, what does that mean? Do you like take products and like try to like figure out like how they work with like a train, or like are you like a conductor? Like, how does that work? And then they tell you all about their process, their product, how they do it, what they do, and how wrong you are.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
I do love that. I've heard that before, but that's a gold nugget, because that one, we got to snip that sucker and put it out there. I don't know if that'll get Vegas hot take good, but it should be, because that's it. Sometimes ask that question, give a drastically wrong answer, and watch, especially an engineer, go nuts. What? No, you don't understand what I'm doing. Okay, well, tell me what you're doing. I don't know. That's awesome. All right. So you scaled. So everything just went roses, right? You're proactive. You got your shit together. You're making it all happen.
Followed the model,
So
and like a good soldier.
So next thing you know, Cabo 40 on my way to New Orleans. So everything just went rosy, right? The whole time?
No.
Oh, boy. All right. We're in a point. It's a price. Welcome to running your own business. Was there ever a point where you just went, you know what, man, this is not going the right way, and I got to reset? I don't know if you ever thought about giving the whole thing up, which I have 3 times, actually as early as yesterday. But no, different story.
Why you have a good therapist.
Yes, I do. I'm definitely got to get back to her, by the way. Well, tell me about the time you had to reset. Shit just went the wrong way all at once.
So a lot of this is a numbers game, right? So you can handle a certain volume individual, like yourself, right? Like I can handle coaching and training and onboarding 3 designers. But when you start doing it every year, twice a year, and those classes are 10 design consultants each, right? Well, guess what? You're going to lose half of them no matter what. There's just an attrition rate in sales. It might not be now, it may be in a year. So getting over the ego part of it, right, to get to the scalability part of it, right, was the area where, I think when it was probably like 10 million, right, when we started doubling the original staff and we had to add leadership positions, it was like, do I really want to go further? Like, what's the value? What's the cost benefit value of having to hire 15 design consultants over the course of a year just to have 7 stick? I mean, that's a lot of failure, right?
Yeah.
So I had to get over that.
It's still Hall of Fame in baseball.
Yeah, but you know what? Why don't people say that? But yet, how many coaches come in and tell you, well, you need to do a better job hiring, selecting. You need to do this different method, and then you should probably be training better. Yeah, but in our world that we're talking about with home services, 7 is Hall of Fame, because keeping half of them is hard. I mean, these guys, it is just hard. It's been hard for me to explain this to some of my friends who are still in the banking industry, still in the IT industry. They're like, what do you mean you can't keep these guys? Man, it's really easy. I'm like, oh, please do tell. I can't. Enlighten me on how dumb I am.
It's just a different mentality, but the trick for you is how do you keep the same enthusiasm when you're training these new guys, knowing, it's kind of like the old in Vietnam, they didn't want to know your name for 90 days or whatever it was because you may not be around. And yeah,
I believe in it. I believe in the product. I believe in the brand. I believe in my people. Right. So at some point, the way that I kind of turned the corner was, wait a second. I believe in this product. I don't need everybody to believe in the product, but I need the people who are on board with us and get it to believe the way I do. And if I do that, then if half leave, then the half that stay are going to be better. And it's not because that, we say this right off the bat. I like one of the things that I do right out of training is I say, hey, I just want to make sure this is right for you before we get you out in the field. Right? We do check-ins. We say, hey, it's okay if this isn't right for you because it is a high test. We are a luxury brand and there's not a lot of luxury brands going into people's homes and helping them solve problems. So for me, my belief in the product, my belief in the process helped me turn that corner.
Love it.
I think that's an important part.
It's so huge. And that comes back from your sales mentality because that's how I train my sales guys is at some point, if you don't believe in what we're doing, you will not be successful. You've got to believe that what we do in people's houses is extraordinary activities every day being done by remarkable people. And even if things get screwed up, they know that we're going to stand behind it because it's still working in people's homes. I mean, we work with the California Closets guys here locally. Yeah. Do they hit a water pipe? They do. Do they get it fixed ASAP and we come in and fix it? Yeah, they do. Do they make sure that we get out there as fast as possible? Yeah, they do. So is that a bad thing? Well, hell no. That's a company that stood behind their product and stood behind their service. So you should believe in your company and what you're selling because regardless, we're going to make sure you're happy at the end, even if you're an insufferable 1,000. I can't go there. Never mind. Anyway.
Again, you have a good therapist, Chris. Yeah.
Kenny, we're coming to the end and I there's so many more questions.
I got one more.
All right. I'll let you go.
What do you tell 28-year-old Kenny?
Be patient.
That's so hard, right? 28. And you played hockey, you played through college, which is solid. I mean, do you still play?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So you play in the beer league now? Or you still
I'm going to tell you, I've been hanging on to the A-League. I have been hanging on to the A-League.
Nice.
I'm look at you, tough guy. All right.
I just turned 40 though, and I got recruited to play in the 40 and over national tournament by some guys. And I feel like my A-League career might be going away.
Good for you, bro. That's
awesome. Enjoy it while it lasts, Kenny.
Love that. No, I think a lot of what he's done is been able to. Obviously, Dad was in the business. That's a huge leverage point. This is the one thing I've been telling my kids, by the way. Believe it or not,
Daddy's a big deal.
Well, I do try that, but that never works. 24 and 21 now, Kenny. Believe me, 2-year-olds, even if they're twins, small kids, small problems. Big kids, big problems. Get ready for it. I warned you.
Be patient, Kenny.
Be patient. Oh my God. Anyway, no, but I was telling my 24-year-old, it's like, hey, networking. Well, my son wants to be a lawyer, can't break into a law firm because he's a junior in college. He can't. They're looking for law students. I said, well, I'll just put my feelers out. I'll start talking to people. And he did it. I didn't do it. I just opened the door. Bang. He gets it.
Nice.
So he's got a job for the summer. I'm thrilled.
Good for him.
But going back to the point, Kenny saw the opportunity, had the knowledge, had the skill set. And so many oftentimes we think, hey, I'm going to do this alone, right? I played hockey. I know how to, I'll go there. I'm going to stick my nose in that corner. I'm going to dig harder than anybody else. I'm going to do this on my own, Dad. I don't need you. You had to do that and check it and see that was the way to go. Do you feel like you were the accidental entrepreneur, or did you really feel like you wanted to be an entrepreneur at some point?
I wanted to be a businessman in grade school.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
I wanted to do this from the get-go. I went and studied sociology, entrepreneurial leadership, anthropology. I wanted to do this from Jumpstart.
So, so you went to Tufts in college. Did you get an entrepreneurial degree that entrepreneurs, or did you take some of their entrepreneurship classes there?
Yep. They didn't have it yet, but it was a minor there, and that was one of my focuses. Nice.
That's awesome, man. So we're coming to the end. Before we jump into my questions, how can people get a hold of you? Tell people, obviously, if you're not in the Tampa area, there is a difference. If you want to get the closet system, it's not as much money difference as people think if you're going to go for a luxury product, right? You can get shit wire shelving closets. You're right, not even close. But when
Get what you pay for.
you get what you pay for. But when you get these, I've seen these guys in action. I've seen the design staff here locally in Atlanta. Totally stoked. Love it.
We actually have a product line that I brought down to the Tampa called Simplicity. It's standard sections and sizes. And one of the things that we do for our customers is when, like right now, we're pushing the heck out of it. It's our product. It's our hardware. It's our accessories. It's all of our finishes. The only difference is it's standard section sizes, and it's a great kind of pivot that we do to kind of combat that type of stuff.
Semi-custom kind of. Is that
exactly
right?
Exactly.
Got it.
Nice. All right. What do you want to share with our audience before we jump into our questions? Anything?
Be patient. Listen. Seek to understand.
So we're catching Kenny, and he is on his way to a conference.
You didn't listen.
I didn't listen, but I'm just going to expand on his point. Is that the reason he's preaching is because people are asking him to come preach. So he actually had to leave his family, his fishing boat. I don't know if it's in that order, but leave Tampa to go to Philadelphia, which, hot take, I've been there before, and that is not the city of brotherly love. Only because I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan.
The meanest Uber drivers I've ever had.
The road was shut down on my way to this hotel for undescript reasons. So.
So there you go. Hot take, Philly. I'm coming for you, baby. Even though we've had a number of people on
just
Philly.
Pissing everybody off. Vegas, Philly,
yeah. my company, my
Your
customers.
wife.
I do. My wife always. All right, Ken, you brought up a book earlier called The Peter Principle, but is there another book you would recommend to somebody who's thinking about either starting a business or scaling a business that you felt like really resonated with you? Hit me.
It might be cliche, but 4 Disciplines of Execution.
Nice.
40X. I'm like,
Excellent.
it's just an awesome book. Everybody gets caught up in the lag numbers, right? And the revenue numbers. But I'll tell you, one of the lead goals that we have and the way that we set them within my business, it's a game changer. And that book really helps identify those types of goals that will lead to profitable results.
beautiful.
All right, that was Alan's question. He maybe put it in. He was right. It's a good question. And you bring up a great book that I still haven't read, but I have a lot of things brought to me because of my accountability group I'm in. So that's awesome. But now, back to my favorite questions.
It's all about
What's
you,
the
Chris.
favorite feature of your home?
Your boat.
Well, he did say location on his initial thing. I was like, that's bullshit, though. I want a real one.
The location of my home is my favorite.
So you're on the water?
Not on the water. I'm in an area called Old Northeast St. Pete, and we have literally across the street, we got Whole Foods, Fresh Market. It's like living in Boston again.
All right. Well, but wait. You're in Tampa. And if you don't know Tampa, what's your favorite place for a Cuban sandwich?
Columbia.
Okay.
Oh, I've been
I'm
to
coming.
Columbia.
Have you? I'm
I
going.
have.
I'll tell you what, and I'm going to come down to Tampa and stalk you, Kenny. I'm going to come find you.
Please do.
Yeah. So, all right. Second thing, when you're out there and you're getting service, whether you're grocery store, going to a restaurant, what is a customer service pet peeve of yours?
When it's about them.
When it's about them. How about that?
Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
People try to give customer service. They try to prescribe it to you, right? Customer service is reading and reacting. It's reading the customer, finding the situation, and then performing to the best of your ability based on what you know the customer needs. So when I go into a situation and somebody is trying to perform customer service, it's about them. And I want it to be about me.
Another point for my therapist.
Yep.
It's not always all about me. Damn it.
You are writing a lot on this one, by the way.
I love that one. Actually, that's a great sales tactic because we talk about mirroring, we talk about giving and getting back. That's a great point. And when you go in there and try to push product or try to push you or give customer service, that's actually, well, he's smart for his age because he's a young whippersnapper. There, Alan, for us old people.
Kenny, you just made his staff's life miserable in the next meeting.
Oh, I am absolutely going to hammer him next Wednesday when we're together. They're so lucky. No, I'm kidding. All right. Give us not a contractor nightmare story, because I'm sure you have a million of them. I actually brought up a few in the California closets because we did get that frantic call when the guy stuck a nail right through a pipe and started flooding. They actually called. It was funny is that our company got the call first. The water is flowing out of the closet.
Mhm.
I'm like, we're a handyman company, and I happen to be in the office. I'm like, well, tell them to go down there and shut off the water. Hurry up, go, go, go. I said, where is it? And so I ran over there and helped and showed them what to do, and then our guys went back and fixed things. But I want to hear a DIY nightmare.
Don't take the screw out of the water pipe. Not,
Exactly.
do not take the screw
That's what I
out of the
told
water pipe.
I said, that's exactly what I said. I said, nobody move.
I
Just
think
go
that's
find the water.
That is a good
Nope.
book title for
What?
you guys that write books.
Okay.
Don't take a screw out of the water pipe. I love that.
That honestly, that was the first thing I said. I said, nobody move. Do not try to touch that at all. I'll be out there. Just turn off the water. Hurry up. Turn off the water.
The craziest story I have, it was not, I mean, I got a bazillion stories, but when I first came down to Tampa, they had a product called a Zoom bed that was a remote control, and the bed came out with a remote control.
Dude,
Of the wall.
I have mental image of that bed you have in the hotel in the hospitals that fold in half, and you're like, there's those old comedy skits where the bed just starts slapping you together and making you a V. All right, what's a Zoom bed? So it flows out of the wall.
Right.
And
It's with a remote control, right?
Okay.
And this is like 2012. So it was the first product I ripped out of the showroom down there because it wasn't a great product. It's a brief history of the life in California closets. But I get a call, and it's the family member, and she's panicking. And they bought a Zoom bed for their elderly mother, and the bed was stuck. And so they had a panic because they didn't know what was the problem, because the elderly mother called and said, hey, the bed's stuck. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck on the bed. So we're like, what? I didn't really know anything about this product. So we run down there. She's sitting on the bed, and the remote control doesn't have any batteries in it.
Come on, man. That's awesome.
So
All right, that wasn't fire. That wasn't water, but that's old lady.
Old lady stuck in a Zoom bed.
Just sitting on the bed with no batteries on the remote.
God, I didn't think I would start crying laughing at that one. That's good. Kenny, you
So
brought the heat.
I
That's
actually
awesome.
went and replaced the Zoom bed with a different bed and put her up in a hotel for a couple days.
Oh, jeez.
That's awesome. Kenny, I hope you had fun, because I know we had fun. And Small Business Safari, Team Adventure, let's go make it happen. That was an awesome episode. Hopefully you picked it up. Again, man, I'm going to reiterate that. 6, 1.7, 80, 18. That's only a couple years, right? You can be an overnight success like Kenny in just 10, 11, 12. Be patient, as he said. That was awesome. Make it happen. Go out there, and we'll see you next time. We're out of here.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.